Gujarat diaspora has for the most part been holding the fort for Narendra Modi, even through years of an international boycott in the aftermath of the 2002 riots by countries like the United States and till recently the United Kingdom. Aware of their support in ending a decade-long boycott by Britain and their efforts in the US to change its no-visa policy for Modi, the Chief Minister has made sure that he uses his technologically savvy campaign to reach out to the overseas Gujaratis directly and frequently by satellite or on forums like a Google Hangout. The diaspora is in fact a crucial voice in the Gujarat story, and so we decided to see the politics of the state through the eyes of two such overseas Gujaratis. Suketu Mehta, the acclaimed and best-selling author of Maximum City, is an American citizen who spent 3 days with us exploring his home state and walking through the alleys of the old city with a childhood friend, once a convener of the local Bajrang Dal and now a marketing manager. Manoj Ladva, a British Gujarati solicitor who lives in London, was at the centre of a diplomatic tussle to get the UK to successfully start doing business with Narendra Modi again. The Gujarat debate tends to be a polarising one, except when it comes to food, and so we brought Suketu and Manoj together over lunch, neither of whom had ever met each other before, to discuss politics over a sumptuous Gujarati thali.
Manoj and Suketu, both of you are basically Gujaratis, but Gujaratis who live outside India. You're just both citizens of another country. Yet obviously the links continue and the debate continues worldwide over Narendra Modi and Gujarat's politics. Now Manoj, let's start with you. You've been at the centre of Britain actually lifting its boycott of Narendra Modi. Why did you believe that this was necessary? Why did you get involved in those efforts?
Well, I suppose the crux of all of this is that since 2002, Gujarat has moved on, India's moved on, and the world has moved on. And I felt it came to a point where, hang on, we're missing out on a dialogue with one of the most important states, a dialogue with one of India's most important politicians. And the message that I gave to friends and politicians in the UK, whoever chose to listen to me, was simply this, that look, beyond a certain point you've got to engage.
Yeah.
And this is all about, you may not agree with somebody, but if you don't have a dialogue, then, well, that's not democratic.
There is a sense, though, that Narendra Modi in 2012 is different from Narendra Modi in 2007. Some call this a makeover of Modi. You've been sometimes named in that makeover attempt. So do you accept that Mr. Modi has tried to change?
The issues of 2002, not only for Gujarat, for the whole world, are now different. We're going through an economic crisis, not just in this part of the world, but throughout the world. And I suppose the world is looking for leadership that's more certain, that's got more, that's visionary. Let's look at, let's take away economics, but let's look at climate change, for instance. Of all the politicians in India, it's been Narendra Modi that's been speaking about the issue of climate change.
But do you think he's changed, or do you think he's attempting a makeover? Is he different today?
I think he's evolved as a person and as a politician. If you see from 2002 to now, part of that is experience. In 2002, he famously said that he'd never stepped into the office of the chief minister before that, and he's been in power as one of the longest-serving chief ministers. So people do move on. People do change.
So, Ketu, you've actually remember your childhood in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad, in Maninagar, which is Narendra Modi's constituency. There being much more cultural overlaps between the Hindus and the Muslims, and you've been around the city, you've been to Juhapura, which is now literally like a city within a city. It's an only Muslim township, virtually, created first to accommodate the 73 flood victims and now accommodating the 2002 riot victims as well. You've been talking to me about how you're disturbed by the social ghettos, by the complete walls that seem to exist between Hindus and the Muslims, to which people like Manoj would say, no, but look, the peace is held. It's the media that keeps bringing up this Hindu-Muslim issue.
Now, I come like Manoj from a community of Gujarati merchants, the Gujarati bourgeoisie, and they have definitely benefited in the years of Modi's rule. And I'm struck particularly by the women. There are many more Gujarati women who are in business, in the professions. So definitely there have been things in the state that I like. On the other hand, for Muslims, now it's true that he's kept the peace, but the peace has been kept because, as I heard yesterday in the Old City, the people who caused the riots, the 2002 riots, are in power. And if they're not in power, then there'll be riots again. So even the Muslims that vote for Modi, and there are a section of richer Muslims who will vote for Modi, they do so just to keep the peace. And that's not a good enough reason to give a positive vote in a democracy. So what I've been seeing is, I grew up in Maninagar, and my grandfather's house was in a colony where there were Muslims in the next gully.
Yeah.
And the Muslims would come over during Diwali and bring us sweets. All that's gone now. And now that area behind my grandfather's bungalow is, it's referred to as the border. And I see the same thing in the Old City, where there's very distinct Muslim areas and Hindu areas, and there are groups of young men who stand on the borders,
and call
literally
it a border.
as sentries,
And
they call it
border.
literally a border. They say, "Here border che." What's also true is that the Muslims, although a section of them have done well and will vote for Modi, overall they have not shared in the development gains or alleged development gains, which I'll come to later, of Modi's rules. That the Muslims cannot get a flat in a housing society in most of Western Ahmedabad. And one of them was telling me there's some kind of BJP rule that a Muslim can't get a flat in a mixed housing.
But if I just come in, and it's not a narrative that I entirely share, but and this is no excuse for ghettoization anywhere. But you see the same things throughout India. It's not just in Gujarat. And I suppose my basic point to everybody that looks at Gujarat is to say that why view Gujarat in a completely different prism to the rest of India? And ghettoization happens all over the world.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.